Okay, good afternoon or good noon, uh, before you fall into sleep. My name is Amir Goldstein. I'm the chairman of this company. And the reason I'm a chairman of this company is since I'm a managing partner with Afterdogs. Afterdogs is a angel investment group made of ex-Amdocs executives. Those of you who doesn't know Amdocs is the largest telecom billing software company in the world, employed today 19,000 people, dominating this market. I personally have two colleagues of mine here, Ron and Ronit, and you can speak with them later. We started Amdocs 30 years ago, so it's not a startup. Anyway, most of us are retired already, and about 4 years ago we formed an angel group fund, where what we do is we do invest small amount of money as angels. However, we cater the companies, and in fact we are actually involved, because we got the time, in those companies. And one of our portfolio companies, Totocell, which I'm the active chairman of this company for the last 2 years, taking me away from my golf and mountain biking. Let's see what Totocell is all about. Totocell is, how do we do that? Okay. Totocell is an ad network, mobile ad network. What we do is we serve advertisements to all mobile devices all around the world. We cater all the devices, about 4,000 different devices, iOS, Android, etc. What we do is we do a premium ad network. Basically, we cater the top-end market of the mobile advertising. We work with the large advertisers and large publishers, which I'll demonstrate a little bit later. We are very fast growing. As you all know, the ad market today is booming on the mobile. In fact, it just started 2011 to actually grow. Obviously, the penetration of the smartphones and the mobile devices is booming. And all the big advertisers today are directing a lot of revenue into the mobile, which they didn't do before. Luckily, we exist already for 4 years. So we are, I'd say, a mature startup. We are very much ready to the market. We have very innovative products, which I'll demonstrate shortly. We have a very good crowd of people working for the company, headed by Mr. Mark Lehman, who is a senior executive in this market, based in New York. I'll show you a little bit. Where is it? Okay. These are some of our publishers that we're working. What we do is we contact those publishers on their websites, application, etc. And as the gentleman spoke before, the Relevanti, what we do is we embedded our piece of our API into their website. So whenever you are today, excuse me, for example, you're browsing on the MSN website, there is a banner place, and what they do is, in fact, as you load the page, they contact our system, which on the other side, there are hundreds and thousands of advertisers, and they request for an ad that will fit you, the device, the place, the content, etc. And what we do is we match the actual device under 50 milliseconds, and we match the ad, and we send the ad, and it appears with the page. It must be under 50 milliseconds. And that's how you get a page with an ad on the top, on the bottom, rich media, etc. So there are some of the companies that we are working with. For that, we work with the large advertisers, McDonald's, Amazon. We ran the Amazon Kindle Fire campaign today in the UK, and we just started. They're very happy with it, and we're just starting now in the United States, working with Saatchi & Saatchi and others as well. why we are there and why we're successful. We really do understand the mobile business. If those of you who are familiar with the online advertising, which is about 10, 12 years old business, it's a completely different business. It's not the same. Yes, it's advertising, but it's completely different business, and we are all coming from this area, and we understand it very good. The flow is completely different. The management of it, we understand it. Our customers, which are the advertisers, they require a very high level of service. Today, when you go to Google Ads, you don't know really where your campaign was running, on which websites, who saw them when, etc. We provide full transparent information to the advertiser. They know exactly, almost on a real-time basis, every day, they know exactly their campaign, where it went, to which countries, to which websites, who saw them when, where, what time, etc. And that's very appealing for them. We reach today, only in the US, 125 million unique users. Worldwide, we are close to 200 million unique users, and the numbers are growing, as you see. Few examples of our products. One of our very interesting products is what we call click-to-call. You see an ad, in this example, it's Farmers Insurance, which is our client. You click the ad. Actually, what it does, it invoke the phone application, and it's calling to the call center of farmers to sell you insurance. And apparently, it's extremely effective for them because it's immediate action for sales, not for awareness. And obviously, this is using the technology at its best. You cannot do it online. They try to do it with voice over IP, etc. It never worked, as we know. Another example that we do, you see an ad here. For example, the guy is browsing in general, this is YMD, and there's a banner, are you ready for an upgrade? And why we do it, because we know which phone you're using and which version you're using. You click the ad, you get an offer, and it says, get the right price, are you eligible, and ask you about, are you AT&T? We know that you're either AT&T, Sprite, or Verizon. You click the ad, and in fact, what you get is a map with Radio Shack right next to you. You are here, and here's the Radio Shack, and walk in and get a deal. And again, this is utilizing the technology that is in your head right now. A case study of Amazon. Amazon came to us about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, when they issued the Kindle Fire, and they wanted to sell it in the United States for college students only. This was the campaign. What we did, we geofenced, we marked the geographical area of 75 colleges in the United States, and whenever you were on one of our publishers at that location, and you were using a specific device that they gave us, interestingly enough, tablets. If you have a tablet, if you have an iPad or any other Android tablet, you get an ad about Amazon Kindle. And apparently, the results were 3 to 5 times more in the other campaigns that were running for the same product elsewhere. And we continue to work with them very extensively with them. Last example, McDonald's. It's basically a click to coupon. You get the ad, you click it, it gives you the location of McDonald's. You hit the click, you get an SMS, which is in fact a coupon. It wasn't me. You get a coupon, you walk into the nearest McDonald's and show it. Interestingly enough, 2 minutes I got. Interestingly enough, they stopped the campaign after 5 days. They ran out of money because people were using it too extensively. A little bit about our company. This is our actual revenue. 2011, when we just started launching our business. Toward the end of 2000, 11, we opened our New York office in Union Square, beautiful place, you're all invited. And that's where we started to grow our business. And you see this is our actual revenues up until May. This is our plan. The green bar is the projections of mobile ad business market in the United States for the next few years, beginning about $1.5 billion in 2011, expecting to reach about 10, $12 billion worldwide. Obviously, it's much more than that. The black line is actual total sale plan. 2011, we sold under $1 million. This year we'll finish with $5 million revenue, and you see our plans. We're seeking investment to support our growth. We have one problem, and that's hiring people. We need good people. It's very difficult to hire people in the mobile industry today in the States. We have offices in New York, London, Berlin, and R&D here in Israel. You got my contact number. Ronit and Ron are here. Thank you very much.
So, good morning, everybody. I'm here actually to tell you about Upside, actually a company we started a year and a half ago with this bold vision. We actually thought that it's time for the industry or for the living room to really change the way, the interaction in the living room and to revolutionize the way content is consumed in the living room. Now, this has actually 3 layers. One of them is actually the user interface. Everybody's using today remote controls and all kinds of old devices which are no longer needed in our living room. And there is a new trend going on in the industry of using what we call natural interaction or gesture control, where you're actually controlling your devices with your hands or with voice. It's actually, it was pretty much what Kinect brought to the table. And this is actually very much ongoing these days in the living room, and we'll talk about it because this is where we actually chose to focus in our sweet spot, what we call gesture control entertainment. This is one layer of the vision. The second layer of the vision is actually bringing more and more content to your living room. Up until now, most of the content which is consumed in the living room is actually TV, live TV, and a bit of VOD. But since we have much stronger platforms these days in the living room, you can actually now use it as iPads, or you can actually use much more interactive content, which is all around gaming and applications. So just think about your new smart TV as a very big tablet or very big iPad with a 40-screen inch, and now it's time to take advantage of that. The third layer of our vision is actually to try and personalize the user experience for the end user, based on what he have actually bought so far, and present him the right games, the right applications, the right content which suits his interests. It can be, again, based on his past behavior, but it's mainly contextual. We heard about relevant media. We share the same belief that the context is really important, what your friends are actually buying right now, what is your social graph, what was the session how the session looked like before you ended up in this game and in this application. And this is the third layer of our vision. Just to show you a bit of our playing field, actually. So at the bottom, you see all the hardware manufacturers. Google and Microsoft are actually a category by itself, so just excluding them. But you see all the hardware manufacturers, be it smart TV manufacturers, which is this cluster. You see the computing giants, Intel, Asus, Lenovo, and you see some set-top boxes players. What is really, each and every one of them has its own unique challenges, but I think what is common to all of them is they are actually trying to differentiate their own offerings. And what they understand today, and this is what actually Google and this is what Apple have taught us, is that if you want to differentiate your hardware offering, you need actually to innovate on the user experience side, as well as you need to bring along with you a developer ecosystem which will help you to promote your hardware offering. Again, whether it's a smart TV, whether it's a set-top box, or whether it's a media center. And then when it comes to the operating systems, and I would not get too technical, but Android seems to be the open operating system which will rule the living room. And we are very much focused on Android as being our primary operating system. We have both Windows and Android solutions, and we will discuss it in a minute. So as I said, what we are helping our customers to complement their offerings with the right user experience and the applications and the developer ecosystem. You need to take into account that those are hardware companies. They have the DNA of a hardware company. When it comes to innovation, most of the innovation, if you put aside, real 3D and all kinds of hardware-related innovation, most of the innovation is on the software side. Those are hardware companies. They know how to plan a product. They know how to ship it. They know how to distribute it. But when it comes to real innovation, their DNA is not as software companies, and they need help. What we are offering in this case is that we are offering our partners, which are the leading consumer electronic hardware manufacturers. We are offering them a private label marketplace or game center service, which, if you think about it, it's actually an app store solution. It's a service. Everything runs on the cloud. We provide them, starting from the user experience. We actually design the user experience for them, the user interface. We bring the catalog itself, the catalog of gesture-controlled games and applications, which are very much different from the ones that are played on consoles or on your iPads, on your smartphones, completely different. We bring the platform. We manage the store itself, so we actually define the pricing, the promotion policies, and so on, and all the way to the fulfillment. Which means actually collecting the revenue. So we actually also collect the revenues from the end user. The end users are ours. They are actually registered as our end users. We have their payment information, and we are the ones who are collecting the revenues. We just launched 3 weeks ago with ASUS, which is our first customer, or ASUS, as they are pronounced in the States. And they have actually launched with their own gesture-controlled camera, sensor, if you will. And it seems to be very much growing these days. And again, we are providing, if ASUS is actually distributing and manufacturing this, once the user actually buys it in the store, we are the ones who are actually getting into, I would say, taking the lead and engaging with the customer on an ongoing basis, whether to present him the latest and newest applications in games, and really to communicate with the end user via our store. This is the home screen. I'll skip that. You have it in your handouts. This is actually the catalog of games we are actually offering on our marketplace. This is the new UI. And as far as market potential, I don't know how many of you know it, but the real battle these days is in the living room. And everybody, and his wife as well, is actually trying to achieve a dominant position. Every third TV which is being sold these days is a smart TV. The numbers are huge. I won't go through them. What is really encouraging for us to see that this year, all the leading manufacturers actually went from just announcing and talking about their new smart TV, new gesture control TVs. It's already there. They have been already launched. Microsoft obviously is the leading one. They launched the Kinect. You see Apple actually launching a TV by end of year, whether it will be called iScreen or iTV or whatever. But this is all around gesture control and the ability to use both hand waving and voice. Samsung has launched. Samsung is the leading provider of smart TVs, and they have launched. And the list is really long. So really, gesture control is going mass market already this year. We are the world first marketplace for or game center for gesture controlled. We are one of the founding members of the leading developer community, which is called OpenNI. We are working with all the technology providers, whether it's the hardware vendors, PrimeSense, SoftKinetics, or others, and we have quite a few Israeli ones in this list. We are live as of last month, and we have also 2 new customers which we are going to announce very soon. Funding to date, we have actually raised roughly $1 million from private investors, as well as a fund which is called Kima Ventures. It's a European seed fund which is managed by Xavier Niel, which is the free entrepreneur and the CEO of Free in France. We are currently seeking between $1 to $1.5 billion to execute on our short-term plan, which is 12 months, signing up more distribution partners as Samsung, LG, and other hardware partners, build our initial traction. We have already initial users. We have already initial revenues. We want to continue and extend it, and obviously continue and develop our platform. A bit about the team. I come from the telecom world. I have both corporate and startup experience. The rest of the team is really quite the A-team, I would say, at least by my own standards. People who have actually built app stores and platforms like this in their past, whether it's GetJar, whether those are people who come from the industry, like Michal Lutzky, which was the CEO of XDR, which is a company which has been operating in this domain for quite a while. And other than that, we have also some other people who are helping us. The CEO of Facebook EMEA, or VP EMEA of Facebook, Joanna Shields, and some other people who really help us to grow the company and build it the right way. This is the ASUS rollout and launch. It's going to be globally. And what we actually, I think what is really important here is that their projected user base for the next 2 years is 2 million users. For us, 2 million users is quite a lot, given the fact that we are actually projecting $30 on average per user spent on applications and games. So $30 per user. If you actually add up the math, it's pretty much significant for us. These are the 2 next customers we're having. One of them is a telecom operator which resides in Singapore, and they want to bundle our service as part of their IPTV offering. And this one, and with this I think I will finish because I ran out of time. This one is very much interesting, and I'll just spend 1 minute on that. This is the new camera, which this company, which is the second largest ODM, original device manufacturer, probably you're familiar with Foxconn, so they are the second after Foxconn. They came up with a solution which is, I would say, a game changer in a way, because this is a sensor which was just announced actually last week. And instead of buying a new set-top box for, I don't know, $200, $250, or buying a new smart TV for $1,000, $1,500, this actually can connect to any existing set-top box or any existing smart TV with a retail price of $80 and provide all the smart part of a TV, because it has Wi-Fi, it has Android built on top. So it's an open operating system to which you can download application and games. It has a very much powerful processor. So everything which you can actually receive as built-in, if you buy a new smart TV, you can get in this sensor or in this camera for the price of $80. Why is it relevant for us? Because they chose our marketplace, our game and applications app store, to be bundled as part of their offering, and we have pretty much very much positive and encouraging expectations for that. I would skip this. This is just one more slide, and this is it. I'm sorry. This is just to show you our main business is actually a service. So we are actually selling to end users, like you, like me, who wants to buy applications and games as any other app store. And we've built a lot of enabling technology for us, which allows us to provide the service in a very effective way, which provides us to optimize, for example, the lifetime value, the revenues we actually generate from end users. So we have an optimization engine for that. And we have also some targeting engines and another enabling technology which allows us to really serve out the developers, which are the ones who are actually publishing their applications and games or selling their applications and games on our app store. I'm sorry. I think this is probably it. This is our go-to-market business model. As I said, it's direct-to-consumer sales, and we are sharing revenues with the developers. And I think what is really important here is how much revenues or how much per user we are expecting per year, which is quite significant. This is my really last slide. I'm sorry for that. If you look at it, those are actually our comparables. I don't know how many of you are gamers or know Steam. But Steam for gamers is like iTunes for music lovers. It's the biggest PC games app store community. It has managed to build themselves very nicely. It's profitable. They have 40 million in user base, and this is one of our role models and an example of a company which was in the right spot with the right strategy and the right offering and managed to build themselves as a very big company. Netflix is another one. Obviously, everybody knows Netflix, which was also in the right timing with the right offering. And the last one, and again, this is from the PC world. This is from the, I would say, living room or content world. And GetJar is, again, not a lot of people know GetJar, but GetJar is the #1 independent app store. It has very impressive numbers in terms of downloads, in terms of revenues, and it actually provide us with the trust that we'll be able to build our company would be as big as they are. Thank you very much. If you have any questions.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Yuval Shenhar. I'm the CEO and founder of Leadwise Internet Marketing Solution. I'm a YPO from the Israeli chapter. Today, when you call a plumber in the US, the guy who's going to answer the phone has a lousy accent, but doesn't understand his business. Well, sorry? Okay. Well, I have a lousy accent, but I do understand my business. I was born in Jerusalem. At the age of 18, I joined the Israeli army. I served in the top elite commander unit of the Israeli IDF, Sayeret Matkal. After my service, I moved to New York. 9 months later, I started my first SMB business. Today, I own the largest locksmith and security business in New York. I also have a retail chain of houseware and hardware. During my 20 years in New York, I did real estate development, and my last project was a condo ground-up condominium in Midtown Manhattan. I study in NYU, and I have a master's degree in real estate development and finance. I would like to start by asking you a question. Who has a yellow page at home? Please raise your hand. Yellow page book, you know, those yellow thick books. Anybody? Your grandmother. Who opened this book in the last year? Please raise your hand. Nobody? You? Thanks. Oops. 1 second, my presentation is not up. Okay, sorry for that. This poor guy, the plumber, know how to fix plumbing, know how to fix pipes. He used to get leads from putting an ad in the yellow page. Today, the yellow page is not efficient. You cannot get leads from that anymore. Today, the only way for you to get leads is by having internet marketing. Today, to get internet marketing efficient, you have to have not only a website, but you have to have an efficient website. Those websites have to generate leads. You have to be a professional in order to run those efficiently. To have a website that is going to create or generate leads for him, you have to have a lot of knowledge. You have to have content, design, time-consuming, and it costs a lot of money. Today, the SMB market in the US is 25 million SMB company. SMB is small and medium-sized business, I'm sorry. The SMB present 50% of US GDP. 50% of those SMBs in the United States don't have a website. Out of the ones that do have a website, less than 40% of them have a content form inside the website. Less than 40% of them have an email. Less than 30% have a telephone number. Less than 20% of those SMB have a network, a social media network connection to those websites. Okay? Only 2% of those websites are mobile compatible. According to research, by next year, more than 50% of total research on the internet are going to be made on your mobile. So what we do, we build internet platform for the SMB. We build simple website like this one for the SMB. Those websites include the form, those websites include the telephone, those websites are connected to social network, those websites have all the elements that the SMB has. It's simple. Those websites that we create for the SMB are easy to play, easy to plug, easy to load. The SMB can take this website and he can put his personal information. We do SEO for him, search engine optimization. We write content for him. We do all the SEO for this website. On top of it, the SMB can do whatever he wants with the website on top of what we do. Okay? The SMB guy can write his own content. Actually, he can write his own blog if he wants. He doesn't have to do anything with this website, but if he wants, he can add whatever he wants. Any relevant information about his business he can put to this website. Business operation, location, hours, whatever he wants can be added to this simple platform that we create for them. Okay, so what do we do? Today, if you search for a New York plumber, there are over 14 million results. Our result is first in Google, in Bing, and Yahoo. The two results above us are sponsored Yahoo links. We know how to get our website to top position. That's our business. Once those websites on top position, they are going to generate leads. And that's what the SMB is looking for. He's looking for leads because that's how he runs his business. Okay, so how do we make money? It's going to cost us $150 per year to generate a website like that. These $150 include domain, server, content, everything needed, it's in this $150 per year. A year and a half later, we are going to start to rent those websites to the SMBs. We are going to rent them for a minimum of $1,000. We are going to make a net profit of a minimum of $850 per year per website. 4 years from now, we are going to have 100,000 websites. And 5 years from now, we are going to generate a total revenue of over $120 million. $1,000 is
being generated from leads that you're selling?
We rent those websites, and it's calculated by the leads. That's why I said it's a minimum of $1,000. Okay, so why am I here? I need to raise $2.5 million. Israel is startup nation. In Israel, we have the best people, and I need those people to work for us. I need people to further develop, help us further develop and finalize our system automation. We need also money to bridge the gap between launching a website until we start to generate income. We need management and operation cost. We need additional personnel recruitment, customer support and retention, marketing and promotion, and of course, we need sales. Okay, so on the one hand, we have the consumer. The consumer is looking for SMB service provider in his local area. On the other hand, we have the SMB. The SMB, the service provider, can do only a local work in his surrounding area. The SMB will drive 20, 30, maybe even 40 miles, but no longer than that. And we are here to bridge this gap between the two of them. Okay. For the SMB, when you search for any service provider, it doesn't matter who he is, he needs somebody in his surrounding area. Not like the e-commerce world that you don't care where they ship the product from. For service provider, the guy has to be local. So the consumer is looking for a result in his local area. When you live in LA, you don't care about the result that you're getting in New York. You need a local guy to get the local result. For the SMB, it's exactly the same thing. The SMB, doesn't matter if you're small and big company, there is a certain radius that you cover. You cover 30, 50, 40 miles, whatever it is, but that's the surrounding area that you can support. And you want leads in this area. And we know how to get those leads to the SMB. All of those people, all of those service people, it doesn't matter if you are a personal trainer, exterminator, roofer, plumber, mover, flooring contractor, an accountant, all of those people are professional people that know their business. They know how to serve and know how to do their business. But they need a platform like us in order to generate leads. They need a company like us that's going to help them to do their marketing. It doesn't matter if you are a one-man operation SMB or you are 250 technicians. All of them are supported, all of them dependent on those leads. And we at LeadWiz know how to get those leads to them. There is a huge inefficiency in this business, and we are here to take advantage of this situation. I would like to answer any question you may have.
Gentlemen, please be seated. Gentlemen, I'm very honored to present Mr. Eugene Kandel. He's the head of the National Economic Council in the Israeli Prime Minister Office. Eugene is a professor in the School of Business and Department of Economics at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Thank you very much for coming over.
First of all, welcome to Israel. This is my second time with IPOs, and first time was sufficiently successful so that I wanted to come second time. So this is good. Unfortunately, you guys were late. So, and my schedule, unfortunately, I have to speak in about an hour and a half at the convocation of a large college, and so I'm going to have to split in about half an hour. So I'm going to adjust my presentation a little bit so I have some time for questions or for sort of freestyle. All right. So I understand that you had some encounter with the Israeli military yesterday. How was it? Okay, good. All right. So we have to do this for 3 years. So that's yeah, it's much less cool after you've done it for a year, but still. Anyway, okay. So I just wanted to talk to you briefly about Israel and what are our plans for it in terms of sort of a little bit building on past successes and trying to diversify and leverage them to new areas. Israel, if you looked at Israel in 1902, and then in 2002, 2012, you'll see very different things. When Jews started coming back in numbers to this country, this was a complete desert. It's not a very hospitable country in any respect. It has no water, no energy, no land, very harsh climate. Okay, and it had no trees at that time. I mean, you've seen many trees. All of that was planted in the last 100 years. A few weeks ago, I was in New York and at a panel and at an energy conference. And the moderator asked me, "Look, I don't understand this. I thought Jews were smart." I said, "Well, it's strange." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you guys wandered in the desert for 40 years. You ended up in the only place in the Middle East which has no oil, no gas, and no water. Well, water is not something rare, but definitely with the other two." And I said, "How come?" And said, you know, the God Almighty had grander plans for us because He wanted to test us and to have us develop various parts of our anatomy that would allow us to persevere and have, endure the next 2,000 years, which He knew would be tough. And even the gas that He put in our midst, He hid it so well that it took us 60 years to find it. Okay, and it's actually for the best, because otherwise, if we found it much earlier, it would have been much less developed country, and you would probably not be sitting here. It would be much less interesting here. But still, if you go back to 2002 and compare Israel with Greece or Portugal or Spain or Ireland or anybody else, we looked pretty miserable. We had over 100% debt to GDP ratio, 11% unemployment, 2 years of continuous negative growth. It was all homemade, and our government was 53% of the GDP, and our taxes were one of the highest in the OECD. We realized that it was not sustainable. I wasn't part of that, so royal we. But the current prime minister was definitely part of it. He was the finance minister at that time, and he introduced a series of reforms which, if you go fast forward to 2012, or let's say 2011, you have 74% debt to GDP ratio, almost 30% decline, 30 percentage points decline. You have about 6% unemployment, 4.7% growth, and the government is about 43%, so 10 percentage points less than it was 10 years ago. And our taxes are about the average of OECD, and we're doing okay. We're slowing a little bit because you can't grow faster than your trading partners. Well, you actually can, but not by much. And so we're growing a little bit faster than our main trading partners, which is the United States and Western Europe. But still, we're feeling the pinch. And the difference in the picture here, if you compare 2002 Greece and 2002 Israel, you would have said, in forecast 10 years ahead, you would have been very pessimistic picture for Israel and very optimistic, much less pessimistic for Greece. And the difference, it's not that somebody woke up one morning in Greece and said, well, let's ruin the country. It's just that, if you don't introduce sufficient fiscal discipline and you constantly strive to become more productive and you have a vibrant private sector that brings the country forward and the government that doesn't get in the way too much, you're going to get Israel from that difficult position in 2002. You're going to get what we are now witnessing here. And if you're going to be, courting your taxpayers with keeping tax collectors at bay and giving generous welfare payments and trying to spend much more than you earn, you're going to get Greece. Okay, so I think those two examples are very, very vivid, and we continue, and we're not resting on our laurels, and we are definitely sobered by Greece example. So we are keeping our fiscal discipline and keeping the eyes very focused on the ball. Just a very quick Israel case study. Israel is known today as high-tech. In terms of course, per capita, we're very strong. We're probably number one in the world. In terms of absolute size, we are, I think, fourth or fifth. We're on par with New York City, okay, which has many more people than we do, definitely much more investment. So let's look. When I came to Israel in 1977, I was born in Moscow, and we made Aliyah in 1977, and it was a very provincial, developing, pretty backward country. I mean, this was a lot of aspirations, a lot of it, but wasn't much, at least from the first glance, it wasn't anything. There were very, for example, very few decent restaurants even to think about. So what made us in the last 20 years, even in the late 80s, we were still struggling. In the mid 80s, we had a huge crisis. We had 400% inflation. we had to deal with. So what happened in the last 20 years that it created this buzz that leads many people, you and many people like you, to come here and to, out of curiosity, what is going on? What is this, all this percolation? And so what happened is that we had a strong strength of world-class academic institutions, a lot of entrepreneurial capacity, innovation culture. I mean, Israel the map of Israel should be put in the dictionary under the proverb, necessity breeds innovation, or breeds invention. We had a defense force that needed to develop its own ICT capabilities, because in most cases we were not allowed to buy ICT capabilities that we needed from other countries. There was a lot of cooperation from US and global companies that detected very early on the capabilities here of engineers like Motorola or Intel. And so those were strengths. Of course, we had huge defense expenditures. Just for your information, in 1973, following the war, we had 35% of our GDP, not of the budget, of the GDP as defense expenditure. Today we spend about between 7 and 8%. It's still very high, but 35% was something completely in the outfield there, and so this is definitely a burden, and we didn't have any financial markets to speak of. So that started later on in the 85 and 90, we started moving capital, human capital, to private market. We canceled a very ambitious project to build our own fighter planes, which released a lot of human capital into the market. We had a wave of immigration in the 90s, which increased the population of Israel by 20% in a decade. And then we had more engineers trained because we started gearing up the industry to such a level of human capital that we had to start training our own engineers. The immigration brought huge number of engineers from the former Soviet Union, and that was a godsend. In addition, in finance, we put capital to private markets. We essentially started diverting capital from, before pension funds would get only government bonds. Okay, it was essentially not even bonds, it was IOUs, so it was constantly rolling over. Instead, we started putting more and more money into the private market, so there was a capital market development. And there was an interesting project which was called Jasman. I presume that you've heard about it. This was just putting about $80 million, splitting into 8 parts, and saying, well, who is going to leverage these $10 million each, bringing VC capital, and so smart money from abroad. That all of these together is resulted, of course, we wouldn't have been successful if the world demand for ACT during those 20 years was not skyrocketing. Okay, so we were in the right place, in the right time, with the right program, with the right people, and with the right background. So that's the story. Where are we going from here? Well, let's look at, first of all, let's look at, one second. Let's look at this. These are the, now I can't go back, right? I just realized, you okay? Oh, okay, good, sorry. Okay, this is the triangle that is facing the world. These are the triangle of problems that is facing the world. Okay, we are all increasing the number of people that are living on this planet, increasing their wealth, so they all want to consume more. When you become more wealthier, you consume more food, you consume more water, and you consume more energy. Again, since the resources are limited, we have to start figuring out how to get more out of limited resources. But wait, that's what we as a country have been doing for the last 100 years. Remember, I was telling you that we came to this country, it was a desert. It had very harsh climate, very unwelcoming neighborhood, no water, and practically no land. We did have 4 different climatic conditions, with different climates. In this tiny country, we have different completely different climates you can have, and it's an interesting country that you can have 10 miles apart, you can have completely different climatic conditions. That doesn't help you to develop agriculture that is mass production. But we have succeeded. We have developed very strong agro-water space health capabilities out of all these necessities. Just to give you an example, I don't know whether you've talked about this, but Israel is by far the most efficient country in the world in using water. And the reason is very simple, because we reuse 85% of our municipal and industrial water. To give you a sense of what it means to reuse 85%, is the second country in the world is Spain with 17. Okay, so that is now, that's not it. That's not everything, because these 85% is being put to agriculture, and 94% of all Israeli irrigated land is irrigated using drip irrigation. The comparable number in the United States is 1%. So you have to understand that the difference between drip irrigation and regular irrigation could be between 1 to 10 to 1 to 20, the amount of water. So now you take a gallon of water or cubic meter of water, you use it 1.85 times, and then you spend it 20 times or 10 times more efficiently. Okay, pretty soon you start being very efficient in water use, and as a result, if you look at the per capita water consumption in Israel, from 1970 till today, it is less than 50% than what we used. Okay, despite the fact that we became much, much richer, so that should have been increasing. That is because of efficiency in agriculture and reuse of water. In a few years, we're going to be independent of nature for our municipal water, and not all, because we desalinate most of it. So we're pretty good in figuring out agriculture. I don't know whether you're going to visit the Vulcani Institute, the ARO. I'd strongly recommend next time you have such a meeting, bring people to this. It's worth 5-6 hours of wandering around. It's 6 different institutes that have been around for 90 years, way before the beginning of the country. And they have amazing technologies that companies like Walmart are now hunting for their technologies for the post-harvest and for prevention of biopesticides, etc. So we have pretty good track record. Space, again, out of necessity. We are we're the smallest out of 7 countries that have full space capabilities in the world, one of them being European Union. So the next country is either Russia or Brazil. I don't remember which one is bigger. So we are about 20 times smaller than either one of them. Moreover, we have a particular predicament that if we launch east as everybody else does, it may be misconstrued. So we have to launch west. And when we launch west, we need much more energy. Therefore, in order to overcome this problem, it's just because of physics. In order to overcome this problem, we miniaturized our payloads. So our payloads are 1/4 the weight of comparable quality payloads in Europe or in the United States, just because we had to do it. They're more expensive, but definitely much smaller. So we today are one of the experts in the world on miniaturization of satellites. So cyber, robotics, defense, all of these things, we had to do them. We are very advanced in those, and these are the areas in which we want to advance. We have problems with human capital. This is the difference between us and most of the developed countries, is that we're not looking to create employment. We're actually looking to find skilled people. That is not unemployment is not a big problem here. The big problem is finding the people that's what limits our growth. The education level, has been some decline in the education level in the last years, but we're doing a lot to correct that. Our size and access to global markets, we can't scale up anything here. We're too small. We can do beta site. So we are planning, I'm going to talk about this, we're planning to become beta site to the world. And of course, geopolitical situation is not good, particularly. I mean, it's not worrisome, even though when you sit in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem or anywhere in Israel rather than outside of Israel, you don't feel it, and when you live here, you don't feel it either. The human capital, we have some brain returning because of the differences between growth rates between Israel and the jobs availability. We do need to overcome certain difficulties, but this is basically, we are looking into these areas, be it health spending, food prices, cyber, robotics, nanotech, and water and agro technologies that I'm going to talk about. These are the new areas for Israel in which we have, we believe we have a potential. The government essentially has a vision of establishing Israel as the global sustainability beta site. Why beta site? Because we can't scale anything. Why sustainability? Because we had to deal with all the problems that the world is dealing with, and we have track record and know-how, and over the last 100 or 60 years that you can do it. And so we believe that we have the technology and especially the place to try technologies from other places as well, not just our technology, but it's a good place, a good innovative place to try technologies. But what we want to do is to focus on global challenges rather than Israeli challenges. So what we're trying to do is to refocus our R&D, to focus not only on our challenges or Western European or US challenges, but also the developing world. Be it China, India, South America, Africa. There are many very interesting developments that take place there. Here's what it, of course, should be criteria there. I'm sorry for I didn't proofread this before coming. We put 3 criteria on choosing the areas in which we would like to create clusters. One is local need. Okay? The local need would ensure that we will always invest in this. The second is the competitive advantage. Local need is not enough. We have to have a competitive advantage that we have an expertise that's been developed over time, probably because of local need, but not only, that tells us that we could be competitive in the world. And the last thing is that there is a global demand for it. Okay, those 3 conditions essentially at least put a framework in which we could potentially replicate the success we had with defense industry and with the ICT industry, because those conditions were satisfied there. So we already talked about those 2 in which we're fairly known. Cybersecurity and space technologies, we are, chances are that your organization is protected by, probably 60% chances that your organization protected by, from cyber attacks by technologies that somehow been either developed or perfected or operated from Israel. Because we are very strong in this area. And then these are the areas of sustainability in which we are now expanding rapidly. And this is water. I've already talked about it. Agrotech. We are now in the midst of a government commission that is trying to refocus the agrotech industry and research outwards. We do have very interesting companies like Netafim and others that are world leaders in certain niche areas. We would like to have that as a major part of our economy. And of course, oil alternatives. This is something that is strategic for the state of Israel, but no less for the world. This is the drive to become the catalyst in the world's drive to reduce its dependence on oil and transportation. Last time I was at the YPO, I gave the whole lecture on this. The idea is to focus the attention and not to let this focus disappear when prices of oil fluctuate, because we had twice already in the last 30 years that prices of oil went up, then there was a lot of effort to get us rid of oil, and then price of oil went down, and then all this effort whizzled. So we are working with companies and countries to, we put about $500 million over the next 10 years. This is a lot of money for us, to actually facilitate the use of technologies and use of R&D and adoption of known technologies that would reduce the dependence of oil in transportation, because transportation is the only place where oil gets its strategic commodity status. No other place is irreplaceable. In transportation, it is irreplaceable. So this is what we want to do, and we welcome you to join us in any capacity, to cooperate with us, to invest with us, because since we want to be a beta site, we can only win if somebody else benefits, because beta site can never make money unless you can have a scale up. And so we're looking for scale ups in all these areas. In all these, and for scale up, you need cooperation on all levels of involvement. You need cooperation in defining the needs. You need cooperation in testing, and you need cooperation in scaling up. So we're looking for cooperation from everybody, and we would welcome all of you. So I wish you very productive remainder of your trip and many returns. Thank you. I have about 3 minutes to answer. Yeah.
Something for us as a thank you for making the effort and coming over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now I have a stereo. Okay, thank you. If you have a question or two, I can spend another 5 minutes to that. So actually 2, 3.
Just because it's got a lot of external knowledge, what's happening with the whole Better Place project?
Well, they are, their success depends on the willingness and preparedness of the public to actually take a leap and jump. So far, as far as I know, they are more focused on fleets than on individuals, because they still don't have the system. Israel is, if you want to build something, Israel is a bureaucratic country. We're trying to improve that. There's laws passing through the Knesset very slowly to reduce the bureaucracy and to make it much more user-friendly, but still, so they are facing some of that. And unfortunately, it's not even something that the government can do anything about it, because the Prime Minister would love to do that. I mean, he's really adamant about cutting the red tape, but unfortunately, these planning bodies are not governmental agencies. They are sort of somehow independent. That makes that, everybody can say no, but everybody has to say yes in order for this to happen. So they have some trouble with that. But other than that, I think they are moving along. Yeah.
In terms of the oil alternative, it seems like a strategic global place for investment. Are there programs set up to help support foreign companies that are looking to invest?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can ask. By the way, the head of 3 weeks ago, we've appointed the head of that program, who is a YPO. You may know him as Eyal Rosner. He decided to quit his investment company and join the government, which was I was very happy. He's independent, but he reports to me, and we are extremely excited of having him on board. You can get as much information about this. There are multiple. We've already, in the year that we passed this government resolution in January 2011, since then we've started 2 excellence centers in the universities, multi-university excellence centers, each about maybe $15–20 million with strategic partners. We've set up, it's a consortium of 9 ministries that are working together very well, which is unusual for government ministries to work together. And it's being, we have agreements with some countries, we have indications of interest with other countries, we have indication of interest we've signed agreements with companies that are planning to set up shop here. We've identified enormous amount of activity, entrepreneurial activity in this field without our program, and now it's being, I mean, just to give you an example, in the 3 years prior to launch of the program, $200 million were raised just for that, by about 60 companies in Israel. We didn't know any of that when we started it, so it was sort of a strategic program that was launched by the Prime Minister. So we're extremely happy to participate. There are binational U.S.-Israeli initiatives. The White House is involved in that, and all kinds of national labs in the U.S. are cooperating with the universities here. So it's a lot of activity. It's very, I mean, it's been phenomenally successful. Is, by the way, one of the things that we're doing is, well, they're doing, I'm sort of watching from the side, is to position Israel as this, in this forefront of this struggle. And it is actually, in addition, also very good publicity. But that's not the reason why we're doing it. But it's, if you can get it as a byproduct, it's not bad either. Unfortunately, I really have to run. So thank you very much for having me, and good luck.
Shlomo actually is in a way behind this Deal Talk initiative, because every year after Touch Israel, he tells me, so these guys had only fun, what about some business? So now we did this Deal Talk. Shlomo is a very good friend of mine for many, many years. The reason he is so large is because to house his big heart. And let me tell you his big heart is. Shlomo, in addition to being involved in businesses, primarily in the venture capital, but previously he had a couple of companies that he fixed and sold in Israel and in Europe. He now runs the largest private equity group in Israel called Carmel. And I said enough.
So, good afternoon. It is a tough act to follow because Eugene is a great speaker. I hope you enjoyed his talk. And I don't know what he talked about, but I will try to give you what I was asked to give you is kind of a perspective on the Israeli technology industry. And I will try to give you that from a macro perspective as well as from a more, let's say, personal story and a bit of a discussion about what do I think lies ahead for the Israeli VC community and Israeli technology in general. So just a brief background on my personal, because I think my personal story is very much an example of what Israel technology industry is all about. I guess I was never young enough or never professional enough or whatever, or president enough to be in the YPO, although through Mayor and many other good friends, I have a great CEO here alone who's also a YPO, and many other friends. I've always heard about this organization, but never been part of it. So I actually joined the military, and very much like in Israel, I was recruited to something which is now everybody talks about. When I was young, nobody talked about. I was recruited to the technology unit of the intelligence, something parallel to what is probably what you would know in the U.S. as NSA, and they basically told me I was selected to it. I'm very fortunate to have been selected to it. They can't tell me what I will do. They can't tell me where I will do. And by the way, you have to commit to 5 years in the army. And for some reason, I accepted that, and I stayed in for more than 5 years. It was very exciting. I learned a lot about technology, computers, and a lot of other stuff, and a lot about entrepreneurship. The one amazing thing about it is by the age of 20, I was running multi-million-dollar projects for software projects for the Israeli defense industry, and some of them were quite critical for the security of the country. So it's quite amazing when you think about a 20-year-old American or European, and what do they do at that stage, and what do you do? I think some of it has to do with the ingredients of the success of Israel as a startup nation. I left the army, started my own startup, took it public when I was 26 in NASDAQ, and I was a serial entrepreneur in the technology space, mostly in the software space. Lived in Europe for many years, as Mayor indicated, and then after I've sold my last company, after 4 companies, by the age of 40, I was out of a job after 4 successful exits, and decided to start actually going to the investment side. It was a gradual. I moved from being a CEO to being more of a chairman mentor, and now we established together with my friends a group which is called Viola Group, by the way. Carmel is the VC arm of it, but The group is called Viola. We run about $2 billion in assets under management in private equity, venture debt, and secondary and fund of funds. Most of the investors are institutional investors from all over the world, mostly US, but also some Europeans, large state pension funds, fund of funds, the big JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, those type of people, as well as some of it is our own money. So we actually invest with our investors. So this is just a general. Let's see if this is working. It is working. So I actually want to start, if you don't mind, with a video, which I hope is working. If it's not working, of course, cannot work. It's not connected to the internet, this computer? Who's... It's not free. Bah, it's not free, so you're not paying for it or whatever. Never mind. No, it doesn't matter. Aviv, give me back the presentation. I thought of showing a video. So, a few months ago, a big event came when you think about this country, which was started in 1948 with, I don't know, do you know how many people lived in Israel at that time? There were only about 600,000. Is this okay? Mayor, is there a problem?
Is this the slide you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Israel joined the OECD. So in 1948, the State of Israel is established, 640,000 people living in the middle. We have many jokes in Israel about, they say, why did Moses take us for 40 years in the desert until they brought us to Israel? And the joke is, it took him 40 years to find the only place in the Middle East without oil. There were other jokes about, what made us come to here. But Israel is certainly not a country of many natural resources. And yet, in May of 2000, just a year ago, Israel was officially recognized as a member of the OECD, the most developed economical countries. If you look at the GDP per capita, and I'm sure Eugene went through all of that, $31,000 more than countries like Portugal, and obviously more than any country around us. We're not yet quite at the level of, the big Norway or US or Switzerland, but we're definitely up there. Israel's economy is doing reasonably well. Fairly low unemployment, 5.6 is almost the theoretical limit to what unemployment can be. So definitely, the economy in Israel is looking very well. But when you really look very carefully, it's not really true. It's not the Israeli economy at large which is doing well. It is the Israeli high-tech industry which is doing extremely well, and it's kind of sweeping the whole country. And some of the credits, and Eugene heard me say that, some of the credit our government is taking for this phenomenal success and how they weather the European storm and all the economical challenges, it's really because of the high-tech. If you look at this is this is in absolute numbers in terms of export. Israel is an exporting country, but the engine of it, by the way, is the export. If you look at other measures, Israel leads the world in terms of R&D investments. We actually, in terms of percentage of GDP, 5% of GDP is spent on research and development. That's unparalleled to anything that we know. And the most important factor in it is obviously is the human factor. We have more engineers per capita than any other countries in the world. Right now, I think it's almost double the US, and more than, if you look at the other countries. So this is technology is a very big part. Actually, I think I missed that number. 50% of the export in Israel comes from the high-tech industry. So high-tech has become the growth engine for the country and has become a very, very important part of the success. But what makes that success? So this is a bit of a complex, but I will try to talk to you about this miracle called Israeli high-tech industry and what brought it. So it is, at the end of the day, it's all about people. Israeli technology industry, very much like any other technology industry in the world, is built upon people. And when we talk about people, we talk not only about universities and engineers, but we also talk about the military being a supplier of many, many significant people coming out. Actually, I think most of the Israelis' leading technology companies were founded by people that served in the Israeli technology units. And it's not about taking military technology and transforming it. If you look back at the first company I did, was a company dealing in robotics and automation. It had nothing to do with what I did in the Army. But being an entrepreneurial mind in the Army, taking huge responsibility, taking impossible tasks technically, creates that entrepreneurship structure. And also there's a lot of jokes we tell about Israelis. Israelis, would never accept anybody else as a boss. Why would you be able to tell me what to do? I know better than you what to do. Israelis, when you tell them to do something in a certain way, they always explain to you that you got it wrong and it actually has to be done in a different way. Very independent, very hard to work with, but a lot of fun and a lot of creativity and a lot of energy. Israel has also enjoyed dramatically, and I don't know if Eugene talked about it, the immigration from Russia. In the 1990s, we had about 1 million immigrants coming from Russia. Think about it, this is just like 50 million immigrants coming into the US in a single decade. 50 million. Of that million people, about 15 to 20% were second degree or more in terms of university education. So highly educated, people who have had a very average or low standard of living, and they came to the land of possibility, Israel, very hardworking. They would do anything. An amazing influx of talent into the country. The second thing is, I would say, is that we do have a significant strength on the university level. The Israeli universities are ranked some of the best in the world in terms of computer science. I think we have, and I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but I'm very involved in education. I was actually chairman of the government task force to reform Israeli education. I actually think education system in Israel is suffering, and I'm very concerned about the longer term future of the country. But on the university level, we are still quite significant. The other thing is, and I will talk about, is the VC community, and I will talk about the government support, and I will talk about the global companies working on it. So in general, I hate government support. I hate government intervention. I must say that, the one example that defies that rule is the Israeli technology industry. It's a great example of how a government can intervene, can support, but without making it overly regulated. So if you look at what is available today, and I know there was one question there which I was able to catch about what are the incentives for companies to make investments here. So first, the chief scientist has been sharing, it's not a taxation issue, I think the title is wrong here. The chief scientist is able to basically fund 50 to 60% of every new R&D project that you do in Israel. A lot of them are getting back, a lot of those projects are paying back royalties, so the net impact to the Israeli government is the net cost of it is not much, but it's very, very important for a young startup to get 50% of its R&D paid by the government. Anybody doing investments or doing R&D gets a tax deduction. We have binational R&D funds with countries like US, Singapore, most of the European countries, even South American countries and others. So there's an encouragement of cooperation between Israeli and foreign companies. There are major incentive and grants. Intel has huge production facilities here in Israel. They got $1 billion grant for building the most advanced technology plant in Kiryat Gat. The Israeli government has been quite aggressive. Some people claim that it's not aggressive enough, but certainly I believe that it is competitive with Ireland and with most of the other countries in the world. And the good thing about Israel is we haven't been complacent. We don't believe that, the fact that we have a great technology industry means that everybody will come here automatically. The government continues to be actively. We are the only, I don't know if you know, but we are the only country in the world that has a free trade agreement both with the US and in Europe. There's actually no other country in the world that has that free trade between both. So we do have an ability to be very global, freedom of movement of capital, open financial markets, etc. So the Israeli government has also been a very important factor in and I'll go back to it, in helping creating a VC industry as well. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So, first, it's important to say we have by far more VCs money per capita than any country in the world. To a point, it's 2.5 times the US, 30 times average country in Europe. Actually, there was $2.1 billion of VC money invested in Israel in the last, in 2011. That's more than any country in Europe, and it's probably fourth largest in terms of states to the US. I think only California, Texas, and Massachusetts are ahead of us. I think New York is passing us as well, but very, very significant. The economists called us the high-tech superpower, the envy of almost everyone outside Silicon Valley, etc. When you go back, and by the way, what is also interesting, and you can see it in this graph, is a very big portion of it is actually coming from foreign VCs. So Sequoia, Greylock, names you may have heard before, Lightspeed, Kleiner Perkins, they're all quite active. Some of them have dedicated funds. A lot of the big West Coast funds, their only operation outside Israel now, outside the US is Israel. Some of them now have also China and India. When you look at the investment pace, where we obviously had the boom and the crash, very much like in the US. And by the way, what you see, this graph is the US venture, and this one is the Israeli. And we actually track pretty well the pace of investments in the US. And as I said, 2.1 billion, up from almost $1.3 billion the year before. So, quite a significant. When you go back to the history, and I do want to talk to you a little bit about the history, and interestingly enough, we have a lot of countries. I had people from India and Singapore and China. They even asked me to speak in a big conference in China, in Germany, etc., about the history of VC and how do you create a vibrant venture community, investment community in a country. In 1992, the Israeli government spent probably the most smart money they've ever spent. They came up with a program called Jasman, which was a program of, this is 1992. The program was, I think, $80 million or $100 million, by which what they did is they said anybody that sets up a $20 million venture fund, 1992, $20 million could buy more than what it can buy today. We will give him a guarantee. We will put 40% of the money, and they can buy us back if they pay us just the money and the interest. So they gave $100 million. There were 8 venture funds created in Israel. Most of them are still in existence today. And they were able to create a multi-billion-dollar industry. By the way, the government got back all the $100 million plus interest and created a huge industry. So it's a great example. It was one generation, one program, less than $100 million, which was all paid back. It actually didn't cost the government anything. 17 funds, 500 million raised in the first wave, and then we are seeing waves. The boom around the 2000, around the bubble times, but certainly coming back. It is rationalizing. So what you're seeing is we're seeing less fund. We're seeing more presence of US funds here or international funds, but we do see a very significant and strong core with about $2.5 to $3 billion of VC money. So when I look at the Israeli environment, it's a vibrant environment. There is growth in investment base, actually quite a significant one. As I said, between 1.3 to 2.1 billion. We've had over $5 billion worth of exits. Exits meaning selling companies. Actually, Q1, I think, was 2.1 billion already. So that trend of major corporation buying VC-backed young startup companies is actually increasing. We are seeing a core of strong local Israeli, which hopefully we're one of them, and we do see a strong presence of US and European. We are seeing, and one of the challenges, and I will talk a little bit more about the challenges, the challenge for us has been to create really large companies. A lot of the big companies now have very strong balance sheets, as you may know. A lot of the big, you look at Google, Microsoft, Apple, all of those companies have huge balance sheets, a lot of money, and they are struggling with innovation. And one of the best ways for them is to acquire companies. And they try, as soon as the technology is proven, we start revenues, they come into the companies. We've just announced an exit, and we are going to announce another one in the next few weeks. They're buying it for $100 million, $150 million company. That's not a great outcome for the VC industry, believe it or not. While we are making 3x, 4x on that investment, when you look at the fund, which our recent fund is $235 million, if you want to return 3x to be a top quartile or a top 5%, and I'm proud to say that Carmel has been a top decile even fund in the world, on a world scale, even compared with the US, you have to return 3x the whole fund. So if you make 3 or 4x on your best investment, that's not good enough. We need to break that glass ceiling and create billion-dollar companies. It's something that I've become very obsessed with. I've actually developed even a workshop, and as a part of my industry services, I'm actually going around and talking to many of the managements of the large Israeli technology companies, even if we're not invested, and I'm trying to talk to them about what are the challenges and what are the opportunities in actually creating that multi-billion dollar. Because when you do create the checkpoints and the Teva and the NICE and those big companies, the long-term impact on the economies is very significant. But we have an emergence of a seed ecosystem. So angels, investors, and small seed fund, which have actually had some great returns and are specialized in the very early stage. We have the core VCs, and now we also have the emergence of growth and private equity. We have our own growth fund, but we see more and more the big evil people like Blackstone and KKR and large private equity companies are coming into Israel. Actually, private equity now is about 2.5 billion in investment this year, and we actually project that this number will grow to $4 to $5 billion in terms of private equity as more and more companies. We actually recently ran a study, and we have found about 500 Israeli companies which are selling in technology, selling over $20 million in revenues, which is a very significant number. Some of them would need private equity or growth equity and help mainly to acquire additional companies. For example, Alon, who sits here, who is a CEO of one of our company called Cividia, one of the bold moves that he's made, he bought a competitor which was larger than him, an Israeli publicly traded company, and those bold moves are the ones that create a very significant presence. So as we can see in the VC environment, we now have a very professional seed ecosystem. So angels, angel groups, we have here Ron from After Docs, that's one of the angel groups. There are now emerging some specific funds. For example, Eric Schmidt has, the chairman of Google, has his own fund which is investing in very early stage companies here, Two Guys An Idea. And then you have the bulk of the major venture funds where you see the top. These are all Israeli-based funds. Some of them you can see Sequoia and Greylock, they have a dedicated fund for Israel. Then you have here, those are the foreign VCs with an office here in Israel. And then you have other corporate funds who are very heavily investing. We have investments with Qualcomm, with Intel Capital, with Motorola, with Vodafone. A lot of the large companies are making small minority investment in order to have a presence. And then on the growth and buyout, I think we are at the beginning of a very interesting market here. We have some, two of the funds here are ours, but we are seeing people like Francisco Partners, Great Hill, HarborVest, Adam Street, Silver Lake has become very, very active, and there are about 5 or 10 Israeli local private equity. So this now looks much more like a normal structure that you expect in every country. So we went a long way from 1992 with a small seed investment by the Israeli government. This is now 20 years later, 22 years. If you look at the total money invested here, we're really looking towards something close to $10 billion of capital committed to this country in both venture and private equity. That's pretty significant and quite impressive. Now, in terms of sectors, we have seen, obviously very much like in the US, we have seen a very big shift, whereas in the traditional Israeli technology industry was mostly based on software, telecom, semiconductor, companies like Amdocs, Checkpoint, NICE, Converse, etc. What we're seeing now is emergence of two major sectors. The most important one for me is the internet. You may have heard about companies like Conduit, Outbrain, IronSource, some of those companies I'm very proud to be involved with. These are companies that are making very significant revenues in the hundreds of millions of dollars and very profitable, growing very fast, taking a very significant market share in the world. And obviously, a lot of the VC money is now flowing towards the internet. And when I talk about internet, I'm talking more about, it's not so much about social networks and Facebook type investment. It's not so much about B2C type, pet food stores and commerce. It is more about ad tech. It is more about technology-based, algorithmic support of the advertising space. It is about empowering software distribution, toolbar distributions, search, etc. So Israel's strength is more on the technology side than on the engineering side. It's not as much about understanding consumer or trying to figure out what the US consumer would really like. So the second sector, which is emerging as a very, very significant, is the life science, which is now the second largest in Israel, if not the largest. So life science is an interesting challenge. And I'll share with you, I don't know if anybody here from the life science industry, but I will try to give you kind of a two-words perspective, although we are kind of a passive, and I mean, we are investors, and we are the majority shareholder of the largest medical devices company here in Israel called Luminis. We've made some early stage investments, but in general, we don't have a dedicated vehicle for that. So in life science, what we're seeing is pharmaceutical or biotechnology mainly. However, we're seeing a lot of good research. We're seeing a lot of good developments. What we're not seeing is a lot of actual medications, actual drugs being approved by Israeli companies. Actually, over the last 10 years, there were only 3 drugs produced in Israel that were approved by the FDA. And we probably spent, I don't know how much. And I recently spent a long lunch with the retiring CEO of Teva. And he actually told me that from stage 1 to approval, it's about 1 to 1,000. So for every 1,000 drugs that go through clinical trials, only 1 drug gets approved. And the entire Israeli industry in 10, 12 years only approved 3 drugs. So we definitely have a challenge there. On the medical devices, we're seeing more success, although again, from a VC perspective, a lot of those companies get sold as soon as they have a product. So they are not, they're not really building a big company. They're not really building sales force or revenues. What they do is develop a technology, and then companies like Johnson & Johnson, Medtronic, et cetera, comes here and buys them, hopefully for a lot of money so people can make. The result of all those activities and the result of the amazing R&D presence that we have here in Israel, and with all due respect, and we do have strategically interesting competition from China and India. I was chairman of a company called ECI Telecom, which is Israel's largest telecom equipment company. We came in, I went in as a chairman, and we made an investment because the company was in trouble. We were able to turn it around. We sold it for $1.25 billion in 2007. We actually started an R&D in China, and ECI has now 450 engineers in China doing R&D. Again, not the same type of R&D. So you cannot fight the costs that are in India and China, but what you can do is find a model by which the Israeli engineers are the ones that are developing the architecture, the core, and the China and Indian engineers are doing more of the, I would say, the mundane tasks of completing the products. A lot of the multinational global, I would claim that there's really no big technology company in the world that doesn't have a significant presence here in Israel. And that's very unusual. There's no country in the world. And again, as you know by now, Israel, we make a lot of noise, but we are a very small country. When I talk to some friends, I go to Japan or China or, countries where, and you ask them, how many people do you think in Israel? The lowest number I would hear is 50 million. And we only have 6 or 7 million, and most of them are maybe not as relevant. So for a company our size, to have that list here is quite significant. A lot of them have made investments by acquiring companies and maintaining R&D centers. A lot of them have actually decided to build an R&D centers. Apple, for example, just recently bought no revenue, $450 million they paid for an advanced storage company called Anobit. Company had no revenues at the time, and they're starting a very big R&D center here in Israel, and it's the first Apple R&D center outside the US. So certainly a very, very significant. And as a result of that, we are seeing some of the great exits. Again, I would like to see more $1 billion. I would like to see more IPOs, but I think some of it has to do with the challenges that the industry has and maybe it's not as relevant to Israel, etc. At the end of, and that, by the way, exits continue, and there are more in the pipeline that I know about, and it's quite, it's quite significant. Unfortunately, IPO market has dried up, and I just spoke on the way here with Goldman and JP Morgan about one of our companies, and we exchange our views about what would the Facebook IPO or not very successful IPO would do to this. But so we used to have over 100 Israeli companies trading publicly in NASDAQ. We now have about 58. Some of them are very small, but it's still a very significant number, actually more than Canada and more than any country in Europe. So again, and some of those companies are very significant companies like Amdex, Teva, etc. But at the end of the day, all this great R&D and great numbers that I've talked about, etc., comes to daily products that you guys may not even know that they are made in Israel. So, you may know about flash memory, disk on key. Mayor asked me if disk on key, do I have a disk on key for the presentation? Disk on key was invented here in Israel. I don't know if Given is here. Given, yeah, it is, the camera peel. I don't know if you know those pills that you take and actually goes through your stomach and takes pictures, broadcasts out, and then you take it out. And it's it's a non-invasive, amazing way of taking picture inside your body. That technology, by the way, was based on a camera that sits on the head of nuclear missiles, or we're not supposed to say nuclear, missiles, ballistic missiles, so etc. Voice over IP was invented here in Israel. Voicemail was invented in Israel. A lot of the call center technologies, firewall, the whole security of the internet really was invented here in Israel. So a lot of what you read about R&D actually reflects itself in day-to-day products. Actually, most advanced Intel, I see some laptops here, most of them are using chips that were designed and produced here in Israel by the Intel facilities. And we have many, many more examples. So while we do have a lot of challenges, a lot of those challenges have to do with the markets shifting from US and Europe to the Far East, the competition that we have from India and China, the lack of ability to crack that glass ceiling and create really, really large companies for which I'm very passionate, and Alon, who is working with me, knows this every day that we talk. And I do believe that Israel is a very vibrant technology industry. So it's not just about great beaches and nightlife and great history. There is a real industry. There are, and let me tell you, and I wanted to finish this. So this is the business side of it. I do want to say 2 words about the social side of it, because I'm spending a lot of my energy and time and some of my money on social issues. The phenomenal success of Israel high-tech industry has also created tremendous challenges for us socially. People are familiar with the concept of digital divide. Unfortunately, a large portion of Israeli society do not participate or are not able to really participate in that environment. The one phenomena for which I'm it's very painful for me is the Arab community. 20% of the Israeli population are Arabs, and very few of them, as much as effort as we are trying to put together as leaders of the industry, not many Arabs are in that industry. A lot of the religious Jews make choices about not working, getting money from the government, not working and not being part of that phenomena. A lot of the people who are less educated in a country where the GDP is growing so fast, prices are going up, it's very hard, and actually all of the labor-intensive industries that were the bread and butter of like textile, like metal, etc. Most of them have disappeared because we are not competitive. When you have a $31,000 GDP, the average level of salary in Israel is probably $20,000 a year. You're not competitive with some of the countries. With the globalization that we see around the world, the only way Israel can be competitive on a global scale is through technology and education, which brings back the importance of education and the importance of making the high-tech industry a success of all. And one of the things that I'm trying to preach in my own industry is to have our leaders of the industry be even more active and more vocal and more responsible in actually trying to take this miracle and phenomena and make it to something that can really be a uniting factor and not a dividing factor. Israel's economical gaps are the highest in the world in terms of the gaps between the haves and not haves. We are, in terms of OECD, we are by far have the highest social gaps. Some of them are structural because of the Arab and the ultra-Orthodox. Some of them are not. And improving education has been a mission that I've personally taken upon myself for a very long time. I think we're seeing a beginning of improvements. But it's so what I'm saying is this is a great success, but not without its challenges. Thank you. I was trying to catch up on your delayed time, so I hope I wasn't going too fast. But if you have any questions, please.
So I will ask a chronic question asker over here. You talked about the divide that exists and the reality that the physical jobs have given way to higher tech jobs that are more electrification. Is there an opportunity in the near term to invest in physical technologies of food, water, wind power, solar, that can actually be produced here because they hold intellectual property protection? Or is that just a pipe dream?
No, it's not a pipe dream. Again, we need to be specific because you gave a list, and I would say yes to some, no to others. So in terms of energy, Israel is, again, it's not an exporting, but it's an import replacement. So it is as strategically important. And, I have a friend who actually sold a company for $600 million and is devoting his life now. He lives mostly in the U.S. He's devoting his life now to try and have the world, how do I say, become less addicted to oil, and spending a lot of time and energy. And Israel has become a very important source of that. So when you talk about energy, yes, solar power, wind power, but they are not that labor intensive. They are more capital intensive than labor intensive. The interesting thing is that there is a general measure, which I've never researched it, but the economists are saying that if you look at the direct employment, there is about 4.5 to 5 people employed in service industry around the high-tech industry. Because when you have an R&D center, you have real estate development, you have restaurants, you have logistics, which is a big thing, obviously, delivery, production, transports, etc. 4.5 to 5. I'm not sure I think that number is probably a bit optimistic, but it does create a tremendous growth. I think and within those service industries, there is room for less educated people, and there is a lot of room for physical jobs, etc. I do believe that Israel needs to take a very serious look at what is ahead. One of the risks that we have as a country is we are overly dependent on the high tech. What we need to is look at the areas of the future. For example, I would claim that if I was a young guy, and obviously my children don't listen to me when they're going to university, they each pick themselves. But if I would be a young engineer, I would go and study biotech. I would go and study genetical engineering. This is the future. And by the way, in those industries, there is more of a manual element to it. But I think the future of the world is not in a manual work. The future of the world is in developing education and developing, and I think the interesting thing, and we have one company which is a phenomenal company called Iskar. I don't know if you've talked about it or you heard about it. Iskar is a metal forming company. What they do is tools. They are now owned 80% by Warren Buffett. One of the most profitable companies in Israel, probably makes over $1 billion in net income, 4 to 5. There's really, there is technology there, but not much. There is a technology, there is I would say there is a lot of knowledge about process, about manufacturing, but the product itself is, at the end, is still just bent metal. And yet they have become a global, amazingly successful. I think one of the interesting things, and I've talked to Eugene quite a bit about it, is Israel needs to invest also in taking more traditional industries and making them more competitive by introducing technologies which are manufacturing technology, process technologies, and not necessarily, it's not only about the product itself. The product doesn't need to be technology, but you can definitely employ. In the beginning of the 80s, I was in the robotics field. This was my first area. And I remember there was a small plant, and we installed the first robots in Iskar. And today, if you go to Iskar, you go to their factory, it's what they call dark rooms. It's all robots. but still they employ a lot of people around it. But they are competitive, and they are amazing gross margins for a company in that space. So I think the future is education, 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 technology into more traditional companies in order to become, and a directed effort to create critical mass in areas or industries which are the industries of the future. That's part of what we need to do. But you need the leadership for that. That doesn't deal only with Iran. But that's a political claim I shouldn't be making. Any other questions? All right.
YPOers understand what you
I'm happy to present Andrew Samrick, a YPO from Michigan, and he is the chair of the education at the Deal Network. Thank you very much for coming. He came all the way just for one day, so thank you.
So I'm going to be quick because I know that I'm what stands between speed dating and then drinks or a nap or both. Can you guys hear me all right? Closer. If I talk too quickly, just let me know. I'm here on behalf of YPO's Deal Network, and I want to thank everybody for coming today to make the first Deal Talk series in Israel a success. When we started to work on this a few months ago, it came together very quickly, and we were worried that we were going to be able to get a full room, and the day, from my perspective, has been fantastic. As the education chair, it's met all of my goals, and my goals are straightforward. I want to bring YPO and WPO members together to do business with each other, to increase investment, and to make it so that we can create opportunities in a trusted environment. So I'm going to run through just a couple of slides very quickly and talk about what we're doing in the Deal Network and how we're here to help our members. Show of hands, members in the room. Okay. Show of hands from those members who's in the Deal Network. Fantastic. Everybody who isn't, please catch Paul. Paul Ust is our CEO of the network. As the largest network in YPO, we're the only network with a CEO, and we're staffing up more, we expect going forward. So as we make more money and grow, we'll grow the opportunities that we have to bring YPOers together to do business. So.
If you want, we can help you. All the YPOers that are not in the Deal Network, you will not be able to leave the country.
Ah, great. Okay, so this is good. So lock the door. You don't get out unless you talk to Paul. Thank you. So just very quickly, the Deal Network is the first global business network in YPO. What does that mean? We're the first business network to be truly global in scope. We're operating now in 6 continents. We have, on average, in the coming year, an event about every 4 business days. As we look through, we'll have 60 events worldwide. And when I say worldwide, I mean worldwide. I'm on a tour right now. We had an executive committee meeting for Deal Network in London last week. We're here today. We've got an event in Paris tomorrow, and then a clean tech event in London on Thursday. So my goal is to go around the world and help make sure that as we kick off these events, that all of our members understand that we're here to help, and that what opportunities exist inside of Deal Network for you to connect, to raise capital, place capital, buy a company, or sell a company. Because again, we're a transactional focused network. We want to help YPOers make deals. Okay, 21% of YPO-WPO are now members of the Deal Network. That's 4,006 people as of close of business Friday. We've got 45% outside of the U.S. We expect that a year from now we'll have about 60% from outside of the U.S. And again, you've already seen this piece. The last piece is the most important one. Inside of YPO around the world, YPO says, please don't use YPO-WPO as a mechanism to do business with each other. This is the only place globally inside of YPO where we're encouraged to do business with each other. So this is about being able to have a trusted environment to share connections and leads and talk in a forum confidential space about what's going on in your business and what you need. Current action in the Deal Network right now, we've got a lot going on. As you can see, everything from $100 million fundraise. This is a US-based public company doing a direct private placement for corporate debt to fund growth of acquisition in India. We've got a $24 million transaction with financial services backing that came through the Deal Network. A $15 million fundraise that I actually took a look at, I know Scott has as well, in the commodity space in the US and Germany. So there's a lot going on inside of the Deal Network right now. and across the board, buying companies, selling companies, and raising capital. So we've got a real straightforward look at the next couple of years for Deal Network, and that is we want to have a real simple approach that we roll out globally, get everybody in every region to participate, have local programming characteristics, and become a good way to recruit new YPO members. The local programming characteristics are what you did today here, because we've got a basic deal talk series format. Right? People come together, it's between a half day and a day, and there are a couple things that are important. We have to have an educational component. We have to have an opportunity for people to exchange needs and leads. Right? You're calling it speed dating. I'm going to talk fast so I can get out of the way and let you do your needs and leads. Because that is among the highest value contribution that we've seen inside of the Deal Talk series. It's members talking with members, making connections, and we have not seen an event in the last 12 months that didn't end with somebody walking out with a handshake to make a deal happen. So it's a powerful way for us to grow as businesses. How do we get there? We got a well-defined methodical rollout. We start with the Deal Talk series. The next thing that we take a look at are regional conference calls, not global, but regional, getting the resources that you need to be able to do business. One of the comments at lunch today was, help me understand how to deal with taxation issues around investment between Israel and the US. Great, that's a source for a fantastic global or regional conference call that's easy to put together. We just need our members to ask us, hey, can you put this together? Regional capstone events. These are events such as mergers, acquisitions, and strategic transactions, raising capital, preparing your business for sale. These are events that are 2 and 3 days long that happen around the world. We want to make sure that they're happening in every region so that the content is applicable. And finally, global capstone events. What we're talking about here are pretty straightforward. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance as participants to come to the GLC and enjoy global Deal Talk series events, as well as global mergers and acquisitions, strategic transactions. We want you to be able to connect on a global basis. So, goal, make business happen now. We've already talked about this, so I won't do it again. What we care about is making sure that it's relevant to you. That's the biggest thing. And to do that, I can tell you, I need champions. My job right now is to make sure that every one of the 60 events is successful, and then as we look at the following year, we grow that to 80, 90, or 100. To do that, I need champions. What do I need for champions? I need people with a passion that want to make deals. So if you're in a business and you're trying to buy your company, you're trying to sell your company, you're trying to raise capital, you're trying to place capital, I need you to stand up and say, Hineni, I'm going to do this for you today because I'm ready to help, and also because there's something in it for me, because I want to do this thing inside a Deal Network. If you want to buy, sell, raise, or place capital, volunteer. You're going to put in about 5.5 to 6 hours of work, because Yigal has done most of the legwork of having us learn how to do it in Israel. And after this, we can begin to make it kind of programming in a box, okay? You're going to send a couple of emails, you're going to find a speaker, and more importantly, you're going to twist arms from fellow, not only chapter mates, but people around the region or around the world to come and participate. The other thing that I'm interested in seeing is if there's an interest in the room for doing like a Deal Talk series Israel focus around the world. So maybe to go to New York, Chicago, Miami, San Francisco, and bring Israeli YPO and WPO companies to those places. Is that worthwhile? Is that reasonable? Okay. Does anybody want to help me work on that one? Because I need champions. Okay, I got Yigal. I've got Dmitry. Привет, мой друг. Как дела? Я немного понимаю по-русски. So, again, we need to see full regional participation. To do that, we need, again, very simply, every region, and there are 17 of them, to do 4 things a year in terms of Deal Talk series, right? So you've just done one today. London is another region, right, technically, so that's another city inside the European region, that's 2. I'm hosting Paris tomorrow night, that's 3. We're nailing this thing. It isn't that difficult. But the important thing is it allows us the opportunity to connect with other YPOers and put deals together. 73% of the people that come to each Deal Talk series are new. Right? What that means is not every time are we going to get just the same faces. It's topic-based, it's geography-based. We want it to be important for you. The other side is if you're looking to attract more members to YPO inside of Israel, we want to be able to give you a Deal Talk series as just programming in a box for your education year. It's also a great place as we do this Dragon's Den type format to bring people in who aren't yet YPOers and allow them to get investment and grow into YPO. So this is the other piece that I'd love to see coming out of Israel, because you guys move fast. I forget who I was talking with at lunch today about how Americans tend to move more slowly. We say yes and we go away and we think about it for a while and then we send a letter back saying maybe. Right? Israelis move, and we need to move quickly. The reason that we're doing well with the Deal Network is because I got roped in to be the ed chair late last year, and I don't know how not to move. Right? If you want to make a market happen, you go out and you twist people's arms, and that's what we've been doing. But right now, I'm just an agitator. Right? If I can get a few more people, then we're a conspiracy, and we get 20 or 30 more, now we're a full-fledged movement, right? We're an insurrection. That's what I need to do, and that's what I need your help with. So that's what I got. Deal Network, again, real straightforward. Buy a company, sell a company, raise capital, place capital. That's what we're here to help you do. If you're a business person and you don't do any of those 4 things in a year, you're probably not doing well. And if you're doing those things in the course of a year, you should be doing with the Deal Network. So for that, I thank you for your time. I open myself to questions, and I can also get out of the way for speed dating. Please.
How often Deal Network make cooperation with other networks, for example, with the plastic network? I mean, in a way, because, you know, I'm getting over the email so many, you know, stuff from here and stuff from there, and sometimes as I'm saying, is this the same email? And maybe it's better to do cooperation. I don't know how it works.
Well, actually, that is the next step we're doing. I mean, this event we're doing later this week is a collaboration between the Deal Network and Sustainable Business Network. I think as we roll out the Deal Talk format, for example, we will start off with the general format, and then we look for people at the events. What are sort of the vertical issues we can so we can break down into? And I think we're definitely looking to partner with other networks in terms of putting events that revolve around the topics in that network, but on the transactional deal-making side of it. So we're open for having
Because, for example, we can do something in the plastic network.
Yeah.
But will be deals in the plastic network.
Right. So it would be a Deal Talk series centered around the plastics industry, the same way we're doing Deal Talk around clean tech in London this week, in a couple days. Okay, great. So we'll make a market here afterward, and we'll make this thing happen. Great. Thank you. Well, all right, I got one champion. Who else wants to step up? Poor suckers. Anybody else have questions? I thank everybody again for your time. Thank you for participating and making it so that my education 2 and change years aren't a complete and total failure. Thanks again. And again, one more thanks to Yigal. Roping Israelis in is really difficult for Americans. My buddy who lives across the street, Boaz, is Israeli, lives in the States now, and as he says, you can't be an Israeli in America because you're too pushy, and you can't be an American in Israel because you're too soft. You managed to rope people together in a way that we couldn't have, and so thank you very much for making today a tremendous success. Please give Yigal a round. Yep.